Today's episode of Desertwood Days with Kathy Blaze is sponsored by Cole Obarts Entertainment, providing amusement, celebration, and distraction since 2013. To find out more, visit us on the web at www.coleobartsent.com.
I wanna visit all the places nobody goes. I wanna teach all the things that nobody knows. I wanna grow wings, leave the coop, learn to fly. Bungee jump from the tallest building in Dubai. I wanna fly around town in my UFO. I wanna eat real food, not the GMOs. I wanna make moves, call the shots like the boss. I wanna love like I never lost.
Welcome back to Desertwood Days. I am so excited about today's guest. She is a celebrity in our theater community. You know what? She is just amazing. You'll see that for yourself. Let's welcome Miss Chanel Bragg. Hello there.
Hi, how are you?
Good. Oh my gosh. Oh, I'm snagging you in my bracelet.
It's okay.
Good to see you.
Good to see you as well. It's been a long time coming.
Yes. Look, I feel like a kid in a candy store. I'm so excited to have you here today. I'm just like, there's just so much I want to hear about, and I'm sure our guests, our audience are excited also.
I'm excited too.
So Chanel, you're an actress in theater. You're an artistic director. You're a producer. You're just doing so much right now.
Thank you. I'm doing a ton. So I work for Arizona Theater Company as their associate artistic director, and essentially what I do is I am the right hand to our artistic director.
Okay.
So he handles all things that are artistic related to the theater for our state theater of Arizona, and I'm his right hand.
Okay.
So it's been a great learning experience. I started working for them in 2020.
Okay.
And it was an interesting transition to go from actress. So thank you for mentioning that first. So as a professional actress for many years locally, as I'm from here, and then transitioning into administration. And I've always directed and produced, and we can talk about that too, that I do help prepare me for the position that I have now. And I'm just really grateful to have a real seat at the table in a historical appointment. Right. So I'm the first African-American woman in senior management and in that type of position, not just in my organization, but in the state.
Wow.
But now we have like more, and I'm so excited with Deborah Ann and Southwest Shakespeare. So I'm really excited that we have more and more representation in the theater community that's coming, but there can always be more.
Yes. Congratulations. That's awesome.
Thank you.
So I always like to just get a little background history on our guest. And as you stated, you are a native of Arizona.
Yes.
But I'd like to ask, how did you get started in theater?
You know what's fun? I grew up on 45th Avenue in Thomas in West Phoenix, and a lot of the after-school programs were geared toward keeping the inner city kids off the street. And I was involved in two activities. One was the chess club, which I was very good at playing chess, and the other was theater. And the very first play I ever did in Miss Peralta's class, which shows you the impact theater has. If I'm nearly 40 years old, and I remember the play I was in and the teacher I was under, but it was 5th grade Miss Peralta. And we did the house on Mango Street, and I played a tree. And I got bit by the bug then, and then into junior high, into high school, I was completely smitten with theater and performed it. But then, somewhere along the lines, and you would understand this too, sometimes in the entertainment industry, there are certain things and representation and tokenism, representation lacking, and then tokenism being an actual issue. And then a lot of the largest occurrences of racism I had encountered were in theater. And so I was like, I don't think I want to do this anymore. And so I left the industry, did focus on speech and debate, traveled internationally and nationally doing that, went to school for broadcasting and said, okay, I'm going to be a broadcast journalist. That's my path. But a good friend of mine said, I don't know why someone that is so good at something runs away from it. And she was referring to theater. And so I auditioned for a show at NAU. I went to Northern Arizona University. And I was like, okay, I'm coming back into it. And then I never left after that. I was completely consumed after that and remembered why I loved it so much and decided that I want to be the change. So instead of being, you know, like leaving saying it's not going to change.
Because of all these reasons.
Yeah.
And you know what? All it takes is one person to plant that seed. And your friend did that.
She did.
Because if she hadn't said that to you, you would be out here doing broadcasting and probably in a place where you felt safe from all those things that you were experiencing in theater.
Absolutely. But what's funny is that even in, you know, in the entertainment industry, it's not all safe. So what I've learned is that instead of, you know, saying that the entire industry was this and viewing it from that standpoint, I was able to start to pinpoint, no, that was that particular individual that I had a negative experience with, and my love for something shouldn't diminish because of it. And I now work with a lot of youth groups. Like I work with Free Arts for Abused Children. I'm directing. Actually, right now we're in closing weekend at Spotlight Youth Theater. I directed Lizzie for them. And now that I'm working with young, impressionable minds around the age that I quit theater because I was like, I don't want to deal with this kind of those issues that are in theater. I feel really empowered now to encourage them. And it's interesting how often, and also I work, of course, there's a theater company. The director of education is underneath my purview. And so I help with all of our education efforts. And we just did Summer on Stage, which is a beautiful program in Tucson. And so many of those students were saying, number one, they don't have theater programs in their school. They've never been to a play before, ever. This was their first experience with theater. Or they had a negative theater experience, like I did, and were leaving, leaving loving theater. And then coming to Summer on Stage was like their last attempt at finding if they still wanted to do that thing. And so the more
leaving because of all these social issues is what it was.
Because of social issues.
And you know, you were the catalyst. You're a catalyst to bring about change in that area. You sometimes, you know, we wonder why, but we have to go through things to help out the bigger picture, and that was what you have to do there.
Thank you for that. And I believe in that. So then the segue then, of course, is trying to create that change. So my brother Mitchell Van Treese and he lives in Tennessee and has his own theater now. But back in 2009, we just looked at each other and we're like,
I remember Mitchell.
Oh my God, yes. And so not even on the professional circuit, but like just even community theaters weren't doing shows with representation of BIPOC performers, like at all. Or if they would do it all in February during Black History Month, and then everyone's struggling to kind of cast it. And the thing I kept hearing was, well, we don't know where you are. You're not showing up to our auditions. And I was like, well, but it's not reciprocity. Like, you're not trying to find those actors. And so I was
telling someone something the other day that there was this full Black production that was produced, and I say, you know, and my eyes are everywhere pretty much. I try to see, and I'm like, I never saw when that was cast. I never saw any promotion. I never saw any. A lot of times we're seeing the end product.
That's also true.
Okay, because they're picking in who they want, or they're posting on their websites or places, and their friends are sharing. So the masses don't get to see what's going on.
That's also true.
So then when they say that we're not out there looking, it's not that we're not looking, it's not visual, it's not out there visible for us to see.
That is also true. So then how do you create that environment, right? And so Mitchell and I created the Soul of Broadway, which was a traveling cabaret troupe of Black actors, and we pitched it to theaters and said, there's a demographic that you don't often have because you haven't reached an extension out into the community. And so we bring with us a whole group of people that want to come to your theater. And it worked. And we performed at several theaters throughout the Valley. And then it seemed like you could see the change of the community theater started doing more shows with representation in them. And then I was like, okay, great. But then I had a girlfriend say, okay, you do great advocacy work for the Black community, but what are you doing for the rest of us, for, you know, Latinos and everyone? And I'm like, you know, you're right. I'm sorry. I'm like, okay. So then I went back to the drawing board and then created United Colors of Arizona Theater.
Okay,
and
that
was instituted in 2015. As a result of that conversation, we have over 400 plus members.
Okay.
All BIPOC actors and actresses, and we really created like a hub of learning. Because what was happening is if you don't have a seat at the table, you don't have practice. If you don't have practice, then how can you get into some of those professional jobs if you're underqualified? And so it's like, how do we even out the playing field by making theater more equitable? And we do that by creating training opportunities. So we have workshops, and like someone's like, hey, we don't know how to dance salsa, so we created a salsa workshop, or we need a hip hop dance class, or you know, once recently someone was like, we need headshots and I can afford them. And we found someone to underwrite those headshots. So there's a lot of different things we do underneath the United Colors Arizona Theater umbrella, and we recently started producing.
Okay, so, you talk very fast, so
I talk so fast.
I'm going to ask you to slow down and tell my audience the name of that, your production again.
United Colors of Arizona Theater.
Okay, just wanted to make sure we get that out. You know, we're going to talk more with the lovely Chanel Bragg right after this commercial break. Welcome back to Desertwood Days, and I am here with the lovely Chanel Bragg. So Chanel, we were talking about a lot of stuff, girl. So that is one thing that I love everything that you're saying here, because you know there's time when you feel like, I mean, we're excited about going to see theater, but we see the same people over and over again, and a lot of it has to do with people wanting to be involved, but like you said, they don't have the know-how. What should I do? But you guys are offering workshops and teaching them all those little things that they need to know to even get started. How do I even get into my foot in the door? And that's a hard time, especially when, you know, we can get Chanel in this role. She's experienced. She knows what she's doing. I don't have to train her. But this one over here, I mean, she wants to learn.
Right.
Okay, but she has to start somewhere. So I love that you offer that opportunity to train. And, I mean, because we have, again, like I said, we have so much talent here. And
it's unreal. People don't understand how much talent we have here. Okay, so just like right now, honestly, on Broadway, we have 3 alumnus of Arizona from here that are on Broadway as we speak. Friends of mine that are in New York giving quality performances, and people just don't understand. They came from here. I know, like, people love, and don't get me wrong, I love Valley Youth Theater and the beautiful thing they do, and Jordan Sparks and Emma Stone, but there's more like local people that have been very successful from here than just those big blockbuster names. And so just to say out there, because I know theater world and Broadway is a little bit different than film, but I mean, being on Broadway is like the highest echelon of theater, and we have 3 right now. And my theater son, Mason Reeves,
you know what, they have to have the opportunity to show what they can do. If you just keep looking over them because you know, oh, Chanel can do this with her eyes closed. But you know what, Chanel's going to move on one day to higher planes up here. And then we have young Chanel's down here trying to get started, but you keep holding them back instead of working with them. So I love what you guys are doing there. And involving people of color. And I have to say, because you go to theater, it's not people of color that we're seeing. I was talking with a friend the other day, and she was telling me about, I'm not going to name any names, but a project where these characters have the originals are people of color. But I don't know if people didn't come out to audition for it, or again, if they cast it in their website where people don't know to go look, so they end up casting them as young white Caucasian ladies.
Yes, and I know what you're referring to.
Yeah. So when we have those types of situations, I mean, that's a problem.
It is a problem. And one thing about United Colors of Arizona Theater, so not only are we a space for networking and training and education and now producing, but we also do advocacy work too. There's been several theaters or people in theaters that felt this process doesn't feel very safe, or this process is not being representative of, you know, the cast breakdown and the description of who should be in the cast. And it's not that I want to demean any theater that genuinely felt like they couldn't cast something, but then I think it's important to go back to the drawing board and then say, well, then why are we doing this? If you feel like you don't have a connection to that community, then number one, who are your areas of support. United Colors of Arizona Theater also has a subsidiary page. So yes, we have our private page, which I help and I support, but we also have Friends of UCAT is the acronym. We have Friends of UCAT, and that is for everyone that is interested in being a part of that space. And so when they need to put in audition notices or anything like that, there's a place that is that you can funnel that assistance. So some of the most recent egregious versions of that happening, both of those theaters did not reach out for help. And not that we are the police of theater, we're not, but we positioned ourselves to be helpful.
You know what? But there's so many different places you can post. I mean, you have, I know Durant's is the one.
Durant is great. Laura Durant is a pioneer in this community.
Everyone knows about Durant's. So there's places. It's just taking that initiative to do it.
And making a commitment to it.
I'm sorry, we done talked so much on that. We're moving on because you know what? I want to talk more about Miss Chanel. Miss Chanel has, and I call you our celebrity of Arizona.
That's really kind.
Because I've seen how much you've done here in the community, and you think about theater, it's Chanel names pops up. That's who she is. I remember seeing you at one of the Zony Award shows some years ago, and I was so in awe of you. And I believe you were hosting that day, but I have always been in awe of the work that you do out there. And I have to say that because, you know what, being a full-figured woman, and as you know, I've worked hard promoting our full-figured women, being a dark-skinned girl, you know, sometimes it's harder for us to get the roles and get to where we're supposed to be because of those two things.
It's very true.
But I've seen you conquer and achieve your goals and do things even though you have those two things. So congratulations.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
And I'm very grateful. I will have to say, because there have been people along my way that have been consistent supporters of that. Like Mary Beth Reeves over at Desert Foothills Theater originally was how I met her, but now she is one of the managing directors at Scottsdale Center for the Performing Arts. My relationship with her spans a very long time, and she's always been supportive from solo Broadway to us doing Dreamgirls. She was the first person to take within the community theaters to take a chance on an all-black cast. It was her that said, Chanel, do you think if we build it, they'll come? And I was like, I think we just need the opportunity. And she proved, and that's why Dreamgirls was such a wild success, because it allowed us to
Tell us about your experience with Dreamgirls.
Oh my goodness.
Because I remember that's where I first heard of you during Dreamgirls.
Yes.
So tell us about your experience with Dreamgirls.
So I played Effie White, which is interesting, because I think I'm an okay vocalist, and people be like, okay, Chanel, but I think I'm an okay vocalist, and I grew up singing in church, and there's 10-year-olds that can run circles around you. So you think your gift, you're like, my gift is fine. Like this 10-year-old can sing better than I am. So it's not a role that I ever thought I would want to do. And then the opportunity came, and I wanted, again, to support Mary Beth in creating the opportunity and us showing up. And I was like, I don't sing like Jennifer Hudson. I'm like, but I can bring, I feel like, the truth and the nuance to the character and genuinely what she's going through. I feel like the normal way it's cast is they always want to go to the belters and the singers. And then there's the emotional component that gets a little bit lost, which is unfortunate because it's a deeply, enriching story.
It is.
It's a girl that, was striving to be a success from 16 years old with her best friend, who finally reaches that pinnacle of success and then loses it because of the way she looks, because of her weight, because of her skin tone, because of these unfortunate reasons like you just talked about before that could be barriers for women that look like us. And then, of course, they put the trope of having the lighter-skinned, skinny woman in the front, you know. And so I was like, that's a point of reference, though. I understand. And so I feel like when I played Effie, I played it from that perspective. And then people were like, oh, my God. And then you sounded incredible. But it was like, because I focused on the acting first and allowed myself not to get intimidated that Jennifer Hudson had just originated the role.
I know.
Can I tell you a funny story? I'm not saying I'm Jennifer Hudson because I am not in any kind of way. But at the time, as a full-time actor, at the time, I was like, oh my gosh, I gotta find work. And I was in a drier period. And so the Super Bowl was happening around that time, and they were looking for people to do these commercials. And so there's an American Family Insurance commercial, and I got down to the final callback for it. And I was like, oh my gosh, this would change some things for me, because I really needed, and it wasn't even about fame or anything, I just need to pay my bills.
Right.
So I was excited but I didn't book it.
Okay.
And I was like, oh darn, I didn't book it. I was
but I'm sure it was a great experience.
It was a
and
great
sometimes
experience.
it's about experiences also.
And I learned so much from that. I learned about I know callback, of course, because of my industry, but in the commercial world, I learned a lot of things. Yes. And so I'm watching the Super Bowl, and here comes some dialogue that's familiar to me, and I'm like, oh, I did that side, and it's Jennifer Hudson. And I was laughing so hard because at the time I was playing Effie. I was studying to play Effie. And I was like, Jennifer Hudson stole my gig. But she didn't. She didn't steal my gig. But I was just laughing at that. And then I was playing Effie at the same time. So I just thought that was a funny, life occurrence.
You know what? We have ran out of time for the day. It was such a pleasure. Do you have any new projects coming up?
I do. So I am directing an Arizona theater company. It's my first directorial debut in not in Arizona, but at my theater, which is in a professional theater. So I'm really excited about that. And it's the Glass Menagerie.
Okay.
And that will be opening in Tucson, actually on my 40th birthday on January 27th.
Yay.
And then we will, of course, do a run here at the Herberger.
Okay.
As well after that.
Okay, awesome. Where can our audience find you?
You can find me on all your social media handles. CM Bragg on Instagram. You can find me on Facebook, of course. I have a website, but I need to update it. But ChanelBragg.com. And Arizona Theater Company. I'm on our website, and please come out and support our theater.
Yes. It was such a pleasure having you here with us today.
I've been waiting to do this with you for a long time. So thank you for all that you do for the community, uplifting other women and other community partners. It's a really big deal, and I appreciate
you. Thank you. And thank you for joining us here today at Desertwood Days, and I will catch you next time.
Today's episode of Desertwood Days with Kathy Blaze is sponsored by Cole, Obarts Entertainment. Providing amusement, celebration, and distraction since 2013. To find out more, visit us on the web at www.coleobarts.com.